The 1989, the late Sitaram Goel, Hindu scholar and pioneer, wrote, "The RSS is the biggest collection of duffers that ever came together in world history. Sadly, that has only become worse. Nothing has changed, and in fact not just with the RSS, but with the vast majority of Hindu leadership. In India there are scant, if any, protests when Hindu temples are desecrated. It does not even make the news. In this Hindu majority country, terrorist elements run amok and have sympathetic backers in the West who call them freedom fighters. However, there are also Hindu communities in the West, the same place where these separatists and other types lobby for support and money, which begs the rather inconvenient question, can not those Hindu organizations also lobby on this? Well, they can, but they just won't. Instead, Hindu organizations on the whole have imbibed the inferiority complex colonialism foisted upon them. Colonialism ended, but the inferiority complex only got worse and more entrenched. Indeed, one would expect this to have passed with each new generation. Instead, it has become magnified. Not only do Hindu organizations hold the begging bowl out for donations and entwine this with dubious accountability for that money or their work, but they seem keen to get recognition and awards to be part of the elite and the establishment. John Lennon famously returned his knighthood. These sycophants want to get as many knighthoods and badges and awards as they can from the establishment who in the past oppressed their ancestors. While Western culture is infected with monotheism, the pagan core of it does resist and exist, and this is shown by the receptiveness of Hindu culture and civilization to millions of people outside India itself. The success of ISKCON, Ramakrishna Mission, and more importantly yoga shows how this is no mere conjecture but the actual reality. Yet we do not find Hindu organizations pushing this awareness, and indeed let alone looking at the Hindu genocide which has been inflicted in Kashmir, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Instead, they eschew politics as a contagious disease, unless of course it benefits their personal and commercial interests. So those interests are of commercial, business and mentioned personal nature, not for the community as a whole, and are in fact devoid of any spiritual basis, save for a few words from some text to make everyone feel smug and give it some authenticity, and it's not very convincing. However, the focus is always firmly on personal advancement. It's almost like a cult, and they can't even do that very well. Unless, of course, the said scrounger is under attack, upon which it suddenly morphs into a community issue, a wider issue for all Hindus. This is a euphemism for useful idiots to do unpaid work for their self-appointed messiah. One sad aspect of these types best described as Jai Pagoras, and call them that because they do is have giant pagoras with MPs that they run after. So they've imported the mafia-style politics into the UK. India is the world's largest democracy, at least on paper. Now, what you have there is political figures, and you need those political figures, whatever level, the most junior, to get anything done, despite a democratic nature on the local level, because these people need to win votes. They work as local mafia don, because in this country, crime and politics intersect and are intertwined. This again interlocks with a colonial infrastructure that has not changed since independence. That infrastructure is set up to serve the interests of the elite and not the masses. It is to benefit the rulers and not the ruled. Unlike this country where MPs are seen as and expected to act as public servants. Hence, having links to political figures in India is not a luxury, but a bare necessity on the same level as food and water. You can't survive or get the most simplest and elementary things done without it. In the UK, the system is that MPs, as I said, are public servants. Yes, there's corruption, lobbying, but nevertheless there's much more accountability. Now these so-called Hindu leaders in the UK run after the MPs, with a desperation that takes on a cringe factor to a whole new level. And they're doing it because that's what they've imbibed in India and those places. You need that mafia don to get anything done, and to be linked to them. Hence the really embarrassing selfies with these MPs, who don't seem very comfortable taking photographs in the first place, and who can blame them? The political affiliation is actually irrelevant, whichever party they belong to. At the outset, many supported Labour, the party which was seen as the natural home of immigrant and minority communities. Yet as Labour morphed into a Thatcherite carbon copy under Tony Blair, Hindu interests became nothing more than their own personal business interests. Not to be outdone, this led another desperado bunch. In fact, some of the same used individuals that were in the Labour Party to then turn the Conservatives, wrapping themselves in supporting Brexit, doing stuff that was not even linked to Brexit, just to give it some legitimacy. At the same time, they denounced deprived communities and the homeless as benefit scroungers and self-described themselves as right-wing. And these very same people would have been, in many cases, at the same level as these so-called benefit scroungers when they came to this country, or their parents or grandparents would have been. But now they spit upon those people. Not everyone can make it. There are many things in life that stop you getting ahead. Now, apart from an unconvincing change of labels, the same desperado mentality manifests itself in every party these people join. Unless it was personal business interests, there's no belief, no energy and no commitment beyond taking embarrassing selfies and wanting any brown-skinned MP to be the guest of honour beyond reproach. You couldn't criticise these MPs at any meeting, and that's not even democratic in itself. Now you notice how that mafia don, that kleptocracy is being imported, the same mentality? In this dystopian pack mentality, anyone with the actual Hindu interest has been handed out or left a Kafkaesque cesspit for comparatively normal existence. This just shows when it comes to your mental health, nobody wants to risk it. Meanwhile, the very forces which this colonized pathetic mass Chai Kapora complain about do work beyond the MPs. So they denounce other communities for lobbying their MPs and getting things done. But then that's how the system operates. Now, in the UK, political activism isn't just meeting MPs and taking selfies. It includes grassroots activism at the very local level. Work on important areas such as pollution, poverty, stopping child abuse, exposing trafficking, and destruction of the climate. Now, how many Hindu organisations are actually involved in that? The total question. Now, the Hindu lobby, Chipakura lobby, should say, denounced their opposition as an amorphous mass of leftists. In fact, not all the opposition are left-wing, and not all the grassroots activism is left-wing. The Brexit campaign did massive work among deprived communities to get support. And in fact, from very, very communities came the support for Brexit. There are also right-wing think tanks such as the Adam Smith Institute, just left-leaning ones such as Demos. Yet not only is there a lack of Hindu grassroots and community activism, but there are no Hindu think tanks. Hindu activism is denounced by its detractors as being fascist. Even the Nazis had a think tank in the form of the Iron Hub, which ironically peddle the same racist fantasies that are now being pushed by the dominant leftist stream of South Asian studies, most notably its belief in the Aryan race. Yet this is what happens when the Chipakura gang are always expecting favours and wanting others to do the dirty work for them. Nothing gets done, and the same useless rabble complain. Not even one Hindu temple in India or elsewhere even raises issues of Hindu genocide. No Hindu lobbying even covers this or brings attention to it. And there is no way out unless this parasitic suffocation is lifted. So, when you see Chipakuras, run. They want your money, they want your unpaid work. You're nothing but a zero-hours contract worker to them. You'd be better off doing stuff by yourself. Ask for accountability. If you don't see it, run. For your sake, your time and your mental health.